Right, we're going to go live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hi guys, and welcome to Piano and Keyboard Artist, where we discuss the artists related to pianos, keyboards, and synthesizers. And my special guest, once again for the second time, Mr. Peter Kerr. Peter, how are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Good to see you again.
How's the weather in California today?
It's hot today. Yeah, it's in the low 80s. We're still in Fahrenheit here in America. They didn't want to go centigrade, so I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're speaking in American terms now, Fahrenheit. So what is that in degrees? Is that like close to 40 degrees or something?
I don't know if it's that high, 30 maybe?
I see. Because we had a little mini heat wave in London here last week. I mean, it got to 34 in London. It's brutal.
Right.
Anyway, we don't need to talk pleasantries, Peter. We go back a long way. Anyway, so guys, if you saw my first interview with Peter Kerr last time, we spoke about Shake the Disease, because you guys remember I did that Shake the Disease special where I analyzed the song, its parts, and we also went to visit one of the locations, which I thought was the location, but it wasn't. But anyway, so following the success of that series, I'm delighted to have Peter back on again. And as you guys know, Peter was the director of 3 of Depeche Mode's videos. He directed Shake the Disease, It's Called a Heart, and Stripped. Now, what's interesting is that It's Called a Heart was one of those songs that the band Depeche Mode themselves, I know Martin Gore hates it. They really sort of like, oh my God, they're quite embarrassed about that song. However, I think the video was fantastic. And now that I'm thinking of it, Peter, you did Shake the Disease and Stripped. And I was talking with members of my group, as I do, and Shake the Disease and Stripped are, in my opinion, one of the top 5 Depeche Mode songs of all times, and a lot of people have agreed. So, and that made me realize you have actually directed 2 of Depeche Mode's best songs and best music videos. So, just thought I'd let you know.
Okay, I'll take that. Okay.
Okay, well, so what we're going to do is, Peter, we're just going to sort of talk about Stripped. I've got a few questions here from the Depeche Mode Global Facebook group. Hello to you guys. And from my modest group, the Vaughan George group. I put some questions up for people to ask. And, well, let's just start off with where we left off last time. Last time, I say, we talked about Shake the Disease. We also mentioned It's Called a Heart. One of the fascinating things about It's Called a Heart was you talked how the band arrived at the cornfield in limos.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were the days.
I guess so, yeah. I just thought it just showed, they were kind of successful at that point, I guess, right? They were doing very well, and it was kind of a nice juxtaposition, I think, the 2 black limos and the chauffeurs just parked in a ditch at the side of a cornfield in the middle of the night. It was kind of good.
We spoke about it last time, Peter. Those were different times. You know, you don't really get to that level these days. You know, it's more of a. I know a lot of artists, and I won't mention names. You know, who are even members of my group and community who are pretty successful, and they've got day jobs. You know, back in those days. So I think arriving at a cornfield in a limo these days, you'd arrive on a bus or a tractor if you were lucky.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so let's start off with Stripped. As I say, this was filmed in Hansa. Is that right? Or outside Hansa?
Yeah. It's just around the corner from Hansa.
So let's start with the beginning. How obviously you had done Shake the Disease, that was very successful. And as I said on my previous interview with you, Peter, in my opinion, and a lot of people agreed with me when I said this, you were the first director to actually get the visuals to sit with the music, because we spoke about this last time, was before that point, they had this kind of industrial sound going, and I don't want to knock any of the videos because I'm such a fan, but they hadn't quite married the sound with the visuals. And of course, when you came along, I think Shake the Disease was really the first song, in my opinion, that really married the visuals with the sound. You know, that you got the black leather, you got the psychoticness of the music, you know, the sexiness and all that.
Yeah.
And It's Called a Heart. I think it's Called a Heart to me is a song where the video is better than the song. It's a little bit like Brian Griffin's artwork for A Broken Frame. It's like, you know, where the album cover is actually better than the music. But
Okay.
I say that with respect. Anyway, okay, so it's Hansa Studios. It's Black Celebration. It's 1986. You've obviously done 2 successful music videos. So what happened? Did Daniel Miller contact you again?
I'm sure. I think I was in a production company, and I've been trying to find the name of it. Not that it really matters, but they kind of morphed into a very successful movie making production company called Working Title. And those guys that run Working Title own this production company. And anyway, so I was with them. So I'm sure somebody from Mute called somebody in that company.
Okay.
And then, it was very exciting. The song blew me away. I think it's one of their best songs ever. And I still listen to it. I still enjoy it. It's just a magnificent song. And then, of course, the brief was, well, they're in Berlin recording. You have to fly to Berlin, figure it out, and do the video there. And it's like, well, great.
So I think the question I asked you when we were talking about Shake the Disease, I think we'll just jump back and forth. I asked you, did you hear the song before you, well, obviously you did.
Yeah.
And then a question I asked you was, when you heard Shake the Disease, did you hear the demo or the finished product? And I think you probably heard the finished product, you said.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. In those days, you wouldn't get it was very rare to get a demo, I think. It would have been wonderful, but it just opens up a lot of time and effort from the record company to have to deal with a director who falls in love with a demo and then doesn't like the new mix. That kind of claptrap, you know.
You know, you've actually hit the nail on the head there. We've got this thing in music production. There's a saying amongst producers, we call it demoitis. It's when you become so attached to the demo that even if the finished product is technically superior, you do become attached to the demo. And I think you've hit the nail on the head there, was if they were to play you a demo, and then you come up with all kinds of images and a feel for it, and then let's say then after that they present you with a finished product. In your mind, the demo is, you know, it's what we hear first.
It would be a disaster, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about the visual aesthetic of the video. Obviously, as I keep repeating, you were the first director to really put the, you know, make it look like it sounds. You'd listen to the song and you'd look at the visuals and you go, this matches together perfectly. So who came up with the, did you come up with the whole idea, or did the band present, or you came up?
I hope I'm not disremembering, but I'm pretty sure I came up with everything.
Okay.
Because I had I also coming from a kind of industrial music scene in the north of England, especially with the Cabs, and knowing that Depeche Mode and Daniel were friends with Cabaret Voltaire and kind of, you know, it was in the same world really with those industrial sounds. And it wasn't a big leap to say, well, I could take that aesthetic and put it into the context of Depeche Mode, and especially in the context of Berlin. So it was kind of it came to me quite easily, actually, the concept. I used to kind of drive myself crazy with every piece of music that came into me, song. I wouldn't use any kind of idea lying around, and I didn't want to have a writer. So I would torture myself sometimes coming up, 3 o'clock in the morning, trying to figure something out. But this came pretty easily, I remember. And I knew that there were certain elements that needed to come together anyway. Like, it wasn't like, oh, here's an idea, it's worked out. It was more like, well, these are the elements. Depeche Mode have to be in the video. That might have been a brief from Daniel or someone. They're in Berlin. There's industrial sounds in the music. These like epic strings. The song has this kind of weird schizo kind of romance, lovers on the run on the edge of town, but the guys also sounds a little nasty, sort of wanting someone to be stripped to the bone. All of those sort of things were working for it. And then being in Berlin was like just a very exciting city to be in that time, especially Hansa's just a few hundred yards from the Berlin Wall, which was still there.
Mm.
Right. So it was kind of very inspiring, the whole thing. And then lastly, I wanted to work with projection. It's something, one of my favorite things I've done throughout my career is play around with projections. And back then in '86, it was still working with very basic equipment, you know, a light bulb in a projector with 35mm film or 16mm film, and very kind of low light. So it would drive a lot of photographers, DPs crazy, because I'd say, I want to shoot the projection for real. This isn't going to be some crappy video inlay done in post with analog video that would look terrible. It needed to be in camera. And so all those things kind of were rattling around my head. And then some of the ideas were collaboration. The going from the wintry wood in the middle of Berlin to the studio shots with this like smoke and flowers and weird shit. That was a collaboration with the production designer, Alex McDowell. We wanted something that had romance, but a kind of gothic threat to it. A sort of darkness to the words. And there you go. And then it's very, I was just watching it this morning, obviously. It strikes me as a very simple video. And maybe that it kind of works. I'm really proud of the, you know, the ending where you get the repeated chorus over and over again, and the strings are building, and the guys are walking in front of the projections back and forth and so on. I'm still very proud of that. It really kind of works. It kind of takes your eye really well, I think.
You should be, as I say, you've you know, you're the guy who's directed 2 of their most iconic songs. So, so you're up there with Anton as far as I'm concerned. And you know, I have to say, people say I'm probably biased towards Brian Griffin because he's my friend and that, but
yeah,
Brian also did the Only When I Lose Myself video, and that to me was also, you know, one of the best videos to, you know, one of their very best songs I think they did after Alan.
Yeah. See, I'll look at that later.
Anyway, someone mentioned one of my subscribers, because as I said, I've put it to my community if they want to ask some questions. And someone said that the video has got very literal visual interpretations. And what I mean is, and this is probably you, Peter, because if you'd come up with the, you know, if you'd come up with the whole idea, there's the songs like, well, let's start. When the song starts, there's a sound of like, it's got like a sound of an exhaust pipe. And that was actually an exhaust pipe they used. So you actually filmed an exhaust. And then there's back to the land. He holds out, you know, they come with the graphs, and so there are very sort of like visual things mentioned or shown every time he mentions that. So that was obviously intentional.
It was, yeah. I mean, normally I wouldn't use the lyrics of a song as a jumping off board, but it just seemed, you know, he's talking about fumes, and yeah, of course, there's the that stuff, which I took as being like an homage to Autobahn, the Kraftwerk song.
Okay.
But in a really good way, and it just felt like a great way to start a music video. And here's the thing about what was good about working with. Well, one of the things that was good about working with Depeche Mode and Daniel Miller and Mute, they were kind of like an oasis of creativity, I think, for a lot of people. They were not part of that kind of sausage machine mentality. Yeah. Let's get a video done in 2 days and stick the first minute on top of the pops, kind of just awful kind of way to show, you know, a new art form, really. So it was, I think, it was just a great statement in itself to start a music video on the exhaust of a car. And in the same way that it was a great way to kick off the song. So it just seemed like, why wouldn't you? And then the fumes become something else later. It feels like this couple are, you know, they have to get to the land, but there's still fumes, you know. So it was like a kind of running theme for me.
No, it's interesting to hear that, Peter, because on the documentaries I've listened to Anton Cobain.
Mm.
Okay, he's worked with them for a long time, and I think there's a
Yeah.
lot of convenience there. But as I said, I wanted to start this campaign. It's just a joke on my group. I say, I want Gareth Jones to produce the new album,
All
and
right.
I want Brian Griffin to do the photography
Yeah.
and possibly a music video. But I'd like you to do a music video as well. You know what I mean? Because I think with Anton, he's done some great work, but I think there's this kind of it's almost like I think in the beginning, okay, you know, the guys are in their 60, oh, nearly 60 now,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
nothing to prove.
Yeah.
But I suppose, you know, they're established. They've kind of, I suppose, lost their hunger. There's nothing to prove. So, but there is this kind of slight feeling of going through the motions kind of thing. Oh, yeah, we need a video. Let's get Anton. I'm saying,
Sure.
let's get Peter in for another video, you know, let's just shake it up a bit. But coming back to what I was saying about Anton was, Anton has said on videos that he doesn't really work with the lyrics. He goes more with the feel of the music. And we see that in A Question of Time. We even see it with Enjoy the Silence, where, okay, I suppose there is a slight interpretation of the lyrics. But if I like look at your interpretation of Stripped, you've really read into the words, and you've obviously, you know, shown visual elements of that, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. It's one of the few times I've only done it twice.
Ah,
Yeah. That one. The other one is Man on the Moon with
REM. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just REM's a great. I absolutely love REM.
Mm.
But of course, you've done Tina Turner, you've done Bruce Springsteen.
Mm.
Yeah, you probably forget. You probably get people reminding you of things you've done. You go, oh yeah, I remember.
I get people reminding me of videos I never made.
Yeah, oh, right.
That video is brilliant, and you made it. I said, no, I don't. Well, you did. So,
let's say, not to put you on the spot here, but these 3 Depeche Mode songs which you did, Shake the Disease, It's Called the Heart, and Stripped. Where would they sit within the videos that you're most proud of?
Oh, I'd say Stripped is up there in the top 5 or 6.
Top 5 or 6, okay. And Shake the Disease and It's Called the Heart, are they sort of mediocre in your?
I think Shake the Disease for me was more of a transition from
okay,
kind of filmmaker into someone figuring out how to make a music video. And It's Called the Heart. I still really like that film. It was part of the kind of growth as a filmmaker, really, for me. I was very grateful for Depeche Mode to come back to me for 3 times. To hire me 3 times was really good.
Well, you know, I was looking on the Wikipedia page this morning, and they said that Stripped was the last music video you did for Depeche Mode. Yeah. And then straight after that, there was a director called Tamara Davis who did the music. Oh, yeah. Do you know her?
I met her a few times. Tamara, yeah.
Oh, Tamara. Oh, is it Tamara? I beg your pardon. Tamara Davis. And Tamara Davis shot the music video for But Not Tonight. Now, the But Not Tonight story. I mean, I've always had a soft spot for that song. Once again, that's another song that Depeche Mode kind of don't want to know. But and of course, if we look in the Depeche Mode history, Stripped was a song that took them about 10 days to mix, and I think just to mix took about 10 days, or was it?
Wow.
But it took a long time because I think they knew they had something special that was very innovative, because it had the sort of motorbike sound idling, and then you put the drums over that, and it just gives it this really sort of, the groove on that is fantastic. So they knew they had something special there. And I think Alan Wilder had a bit of a sulk because I think the record company in their infinite wisdom decided that for America, we're not going to release Stripped, we're going to release Not Tonight. And Alan wasn't happy about that But Not Tonight, is just a B-side. It's a song they wrote and produced in a day. It didn't have the musicality or the brilliance of Stripped. So Alan Wilder in particular was really annoyed about that. And then, of course, Not Tonight, But Not Tonight became the soundtrack to some cheesy American romance movie. And I was thinking today when I read that, I wonder why they never got you to direct the music video. You you would have undoubtedly given it a lot more edge because it was very cheesy.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to talk to them about it.
Yeah, this is something, and also there was this kind of idea that, okay, we're going to release this in America, we need to dumb it down, which I thought was a little bit condescending, because as I'm starting to, with like Depeche Mode Global and one of the groups I've joined forces with now, they're fundamentally mainly American audience, and the American audience, for Depeche Mode are just as hardcore as any audience. So I'm just thinking for the record company back in '86 to think, okay, it's America, we need to dumb it down a little bit. That was
what company was it? Because it wasn't Mute, right? They must have been working through a bigger.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, you're right. There was. You see, this is something, and I don't want to get into history here now, but because Brian Griffin was doing all the album covers up until '86, and then by the time '86 came, Brian was kind of moved out of the picture. Not in a cynical or sinister way. And then I think Martin Atkins kind of took over. And I think it was just at this point, the band were getting to a point where I think everyone was getting a little bit nervous. This band is a big deal. They're worth a lot of money. And I think this is the point, as Brian Griffin also said, things started becoming quite serious. And it kind of lost that sort of independent label kind of feel. Because I think they had realized the stakes were quite high now. More people got involved. Once again, I'm a real advocate of the saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So
that's right.
Of course, they seem to have abandoned that because they use Anton for everything these days.
Of course.
But I just think I would have liked to have seen you do more music videos.
Well, thank you, but maybe I was busy. Who knows? No, I just think they had such a strong connection with Anton. You can't knock that. It's tremendous.
Peter, so when you were called up to do this music video, you were not in Berlin at the time, were you in the UK?
No, I was in London, yeah.
You moved to America, you've been there for years now, haven't you?
I've moved in 86.
86. Okay, so it was
just of 86.
Around about that time, okay.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so as I said, I'm just going to ask you a couple more questions, and I'm going to jump into some of the questions that some of the subscribers have asked. What was the budget to this music video?
Jesus, I don't know.
You don't know?
I have no clue. It was.
They'd never tell you.
It was enough. It was enough. Okay, and I really don't mind, since it's so far in the past. The production company were known to have two different budgets, one for a director and one for themselves. They were not honest people, so I would never have found out. All I would known was what I was told. And for some, and the thing you wouldn't do is actually ask the band.
How
much you're spending on it. You'd never do it.
Yeah.
So I would have no clue, but it was enough to get to Berlin with a 16mm camera and film the little pieces for projection, the portraits of the band members, and then hang around for that to be developed and edited, everything prepped, and then shoot, I presume, for a couple of nights, I'm going to guess.
Yes, you reckon it was a couple of nights? Yeah.
And it was, it felt kind of edgy, I understand why Depeche Mode wanted to get to Hansa and be in that city. When they were on, there's a little deck that they go up on, the two guys are holding one of the big screens.
Yeah.
There was a guard from the other side of the wall looking at us. And I guess he was just kind of bemused, but it did feel kind of threatening.
Yeah, it was all very political at that time, and I think that all sort of played into the sort of the mystique and because Depeche Mode did use a lot of sort of that sort of Soviet imagery. They kind of leaned into that, and of course, as I said, that played in well to the paranoia we had of the East at the time. All right, okay, I'm jumping to some of the questions here.
Okay.
Peter, I've got, these are from the Depeche Mode Global. Hello, guys, hello to you all in the Depeche Mode Global group, and Rob Rom. And Rob Rom has actually asked two questions here.
Yeah.
His questions are, what was the use of screen projections inspired by the lyrical reference to make decisions without your television.
Right. No, it wasn't. No, what inspired that line, of course, was burning the TV. Because
I see.
it was like a political statement, right, from the band. But the projections is just something I've been doing for a long time. I was a projectionist in a little indie cinema before I started to make music videos. And then I used to tour with Cabaret Voltaire, and their lighting rig was nothing except for film projectors. So I kind of was very familiar with the strengths and weaknesses of working with film projection.
Raymond Root says, I have a question. Whose idea was to blowtorch the TV while it was still on? Wow, awesome. Quite dangerous.
Yeah, that was my idea.
Is it your idea?
Oh, yeah. I think then it got shut down very quickly when we realized there was an issue there.
I mean, this just comes from another question from one of the members from my group. Alex Fernandez asked the question. He asked something along the lines of, whose decision was it to smash the TVs while they were on, and there were sparks flying? And I think the question was, what was the insurance? Were the insurance concerns?
God, probably millions, right? I don't know. No, they just went for it. That's what you did in those days, right? And you're in Berlin. You're not we were such a small unit and so separate from everything. And it was great that they just went for it.
All right. Great. Next question here from Penny Davis. The question being, was the car smashing completed in one take, or was it done over a few nights? Because they were smashing those cars, weren't they?
Yeah, no, that was happening. That was probably, I would guess at that moment, we might have had 2 cameras. I was looking at it. It sounds terrible, but I just can't remember.
Yeah.
I think it was done in just like maybe a half hour of filming.
Right. Okay, let's get to the next question here. Brandon Gray asks, I just want to know what made them decide to destroy the car and just smash things in the video in general. Was that a creative process, or was that a creative process? What got them to do that decision? I mean, I think it's just if I can jump in, it's probably just they had that industrial thing of, it was just putting the visuals to the sounds of.
Well, it's also in the music, I think. There's a sort of threat to the music, and the band don't come across as threatening in any way. But it's the
they don't.
For rebellion and anger and so on. So it all worked. And also a neat tie-in with the idea that you start and finish with exhaust fumes.
Okay. Next question I want to ask you is from Leanne Bonnell. Albacete. Oh, it's a nice Italian surname. She goes, any clue as to what the fumes she was breathing in taste when they kiss? Is that cigarette smoke, or is it boxing marijuana? Who knows? I mean, you should. That's a question for Martin Gore, Leanne. We should ask Martin.
Definitely, but there is a kind of underlying feeling of pollution in the air. Sort of dystopian kind of city fumes. Yeah.
And it's funny because, obviously I've seen that video many times because, and I saw it when I was very young. And it's like when you're looking at it now and we're talking about it now, you're going, oh, I didn't realize that. You've seen it hundreds of times and now you're going, oh, I didn't realize. Because I think when you see things really young, you kind of just take them at face value. You don't sort of intellectualize them,
Right.
Right. Next question is from, she's one of my loyal patrons and my group member, Ursula Sorensen. And she goes, I have a question. What was the best part? What was the most fun about making Stripped? When the guys going around the big screen, did they stop the traffic, or was it all planned with the cars crossing?
Oh, I see what you mean. No, that would have been a serious safety issue. That was crew members driving cars through the shot.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say, it's funny. As I say, I saw it many years ago, and I just know the video as, you know, the screens and them smashing the shit out of cars. But then you know, you got to think, you know, with the average age of a Depeche Mode fan obviously being older now these days, people tend to think more, and you think, what were the insurance risks? Wasn't that? That's,
Yeah, yeah.
that's just, we're just so unrock and roll as we get older. Yes?
Sure is.
Okay, I'm going to just fire up a few more questions. Yeah, Aristan, Joel Kev. Sorry, I can't pronounce your name, mate. He's going. The car was a Volga Eric, which was a luxury Soviet car. Okay, so he obviously so because I think we Westerners sometimes get confused between a Ziguli and a Lada.
Of course you did. There was a Trabant as well. I remember that. I shot with one of those in Czech Republic, and that was another basic Soviet car.
Oh yeah, these
people know a lot more about it than I do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're like, it's just a car. Just go knock the car.
Just whatever turned up on the day.
Let's just do a couple more questions. Yeah. Oh, he has a comment from Bonnie Richardson. Hi, Bonnie. She just says, it's not a comment, but how hot was Alan Wilder in that video? Oh my God.
I'd say very hot. Yeah.
Very hot. And coming back to that, we talked about this in the last interview, how cool you made in Shake the Disease. I mean, they all look cool, but Fletch, to me, in Shake the Disease, that's like one of the videos where he looks like, I can't remember Fletch ever looking that cool. He looks ultra cool. How did he really looks cool in that?
Yeah, yeah. Thanks. He did a great job.
And I think while we're talking about Bonnie Richardson, she's obviously a huge fangirl. She was also talking once how It's Called a Heart. She said that Martin looks like fantastic in that It's Called a Heart video, because he had like that cowboy hat. It was like not a cowboy, but they just. I mean, you did photograph, not photograph them, but you filmed them, and you really did bring the best out in them. I mean, they looked great, you know.
Thank you. Well, no, I pride myself as one of the skills that I could bring as a director to a band. I think you see what someone's, you know, the best way to photograph them and get some kind of connection going with them and the camera. You know.
I think it's, you know, we're not going to mention names, of course, but you know, it's just one of those unfortunate things of nature. I think some people are just easier on the eye, you know. Some people you probably got to try a lot harder, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Just another couple of questions here. Oh yeah, this was the one that Alex Fernandez said. He said, burning a TV set while it switched on and the flying debris from smashing car windows with sledgehammers was kind of risky. Any sort of insurance made previously to the shoot? What were you?
Well, there you go. The early days of music videos.
Yeah. I just know. Go on.
No. It's all down to the band's kind of enthusiasm, the support from you, and a really good crew. I don't remember their individual names, obviously, but that crew in Berlin were just fantastic and really hardworking. And they were, you know, you're shooting in some crappy old warehouse full of dust and fleas and shit, and you're doing music video 3 o'clock in the morning, and they just get going at it. You know, that's so no one blinked an eye when, of course, now there'd be all sorts of issues with doing Even the smoke that we used in the little sound studio, the photographic studio where we did the shots of the band like holding flowers, and there was smoke, like backlit smoke to kind of size fume thing. Those little things. That smoke now is totally banned.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, you know, Peter, I was saying, you were around. You know, that time to me was like ultimate rock and roll. And you know, it just seems like things were less serious and overthought, and things were just, you know, when I listened to the interviews with Brian as well, it was kind of like, yeah, we'll go to this, we'll go to Switzerland, we'll go up the Alps, yeah, we'll shoot a soldier. Can you imagine the health and safety, you know, and you know, coming back to that, where Brian and then went up the Alps with the soldier. I think these days they wouldn't do that. It would just be done on Photoshop, you know. So
of course it would, yes.
So I think you must be glad
about that. I think that very basic, analog technology, and artists like Brian wanted to do everything in camera, like Hypnosis, doing all those amazing Pink Floyd photographs. They're all in camera. It's like something amazing about it and romantic. And
that's right.
And also still there's an element of reality that makes it work. Whereas I think with a lot of, 2G animation and graphic work now, digital work, it's amazing, but it takes you into this other place that doesn't seem to suit a band or a musician and music. It just seems to go into a different headspace somehow.
I find this, and in our quest, this is a little bit off subject, but it is relevant to photography. It's relevant to music production, to everything really. In our quest for perfection, because that's what we as humans, we always aspire. Right. I just think I listened to music as well today. A lot of it has lost its earthiness. It's like, I think in the late 80s, we all got rid of our vinyl collections to get CDs. And now the funny thing is, now they make, in music production, you have tape emulations that put crackle onto your records to give them a more earthy sound. So
I know, ridiculous. Well, yeah, there's something about all of that.
I think there is that. Okay, well, I think that's it for the questions there. But right. Peter, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I think we mentioned this before I started recording. As I say, I've been getting on very well with Depeche Mode Global, which is one of the biggest Facebook Depeche Mode groups. It's run by a guy called Rob Rom, a really great group. Most of the members in there are American, and they're probably neighbors of yours, because I think I've been on their chats a few times. A lot of them are neighbors of yours. And I did say, would you be prepared to join me as a guest on that channel?
Of course, yeah.
Thank you. There you got it, guys. As you see, I'm not holding a gun to his head.
No, not at all. No, everything's gonna be fine.
No, it's fine. As I said, I went on there about 3 weeks ago with Brian Griffin. It was very fun. It's just great way to, for the community to ask, because I'm sure there are so many questions people would like to ask you.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you for that, Peter. And I will, as I say, we'll set that up with Rob Rom at a later stage. Okay, let's come back to this music video now. Did you spend much time with the band, or?
No, not at all. Very little. If you think about it, my connection with them was just purely, with the camera, on the set really, it worked for those 3 videos very well. I think after that, both myself and the band members were looking for a stronger connection. I think that's one of the reasons they went with Anton, because there was obviously something there between the 5 of them until when Alan left, but something going on there where they were very comfortable. And I had also, in opposition to that, I had been working with some musicians and bands who there was much more of a direct connection for me and them. So I went off looking more for that, as opposed to, oh, well, wait a minute, maybe I can get back into the world of Depeche Mode, if Anton gets busy or something. It wasn't really questioned at all that they would do, video after video after video with Anton and do all their publicity stills with him and so on. I thought that was just a marvelous thing for a band to do, actually. And very rare. I used to actually say to record companies, when I had the opportunity, when I made friends with some of the video coordinators out here in California, is it good or bad to have the image of the band or ideas for the album sleeve and the way the videos look? Why not have something that looks kind of sort of organic, but kind of have a similar feel to, just to create a semblance of some intention.
Yeah.
And it would never have worked. I think Depeche Mode is one of the few bands that really did that, Even bands like The Cure, they use the same director over and over and over again. Tim Pope never did their publicity stills or their album sleeves, right? So I think that Depeche Mode, I think, is quite admirable that they kept this like very strong, singular vision for their image. And these days, you'd call it branding. right?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Then you wouldn't say branding, I don't think. It was just an instinctive kind of way to work, and it's very strong. You look back at all their album sleeves, it's all of a one, isn't it, really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, as Brian Griffin also said, back in those days, there wasn't this kind of corporate spin on things. Everything was really sort of very artistic and very natural. And you mentioned earlier, Peter, that Depeche Mode were very, very, very creative. They were really pushing the frontiers, you know, in a very unusual way.
Yep. I got a personal thing I was going to add, because when I was in LA, I think the end of '86, maybe very early the next year, they came on tour to Los Angeles. They did like a record signing thing. And I lived very close to one of the stores. It was called Warehouse. This is way back in the day. And I thought, well, maybe I could just go down to the store and say hello or something. And I got there and the place was packed. It was kind of like hundreds of people just trying to get in. It wasn't even a line. It was just a crowd in the parking lot of this record store. And I went, wow, okay, great. And I just drove back home. But it just struck me then that there are certain English bands, when you play their music in LA, whether it's in your house, in your bedroom, in your car, whatever, it kind of resonates. And I think, and Depeche Mode is definitely one of those. Like to say an example of not saying, I used to love Blancmange, say, or Soft Cell. Love those songs. But they don't resonate with the kind of culture or the feeling in the air of America. And Depeche Mode obviously did. Yeah. And I think they, whoever decided to make a crappy music video for MTV had no idea. You know, it was sort of like, these are the rules for MTV. You get it on, you make it look bright and pop, and you know, all due respect to Tamara, you know, she had that kind of energy to her work. It was poppy and bright and threatening, and it missed what people were really loving the music for, you know.
Well, I think it's, you know, she obviously had the brief, and this is probably why they got you to do the music video to But Not Tonight, it would definitely have a darker edge that would sit more in line with the songs you've done, and I feel it would have sit, you know, in line better with their image. But if we look at their next album, which was Music for the Masses, they also tried that very American approach. Anton did a series called Strange, where he did that black and white sort of on Super High 8, you know, that sort of like intentionally art school, low budget look. And then, and that included Strange Love. But then, of course, they did the American release. And once again, I think this video was shot by or directed by Martin Atkins. And you know, the people in my community and the people of Depeche Mode Global that I speak to, they absolutely, I don't want to say they hate the video because they're such fans, but it was just exactly what you said. It flashing lights, poppy. It was so different to what you sort of cultivated in Shake the Disease and you know.
Also, MTV, from my memory, was quite schizo. It was kind of, most of the day was full of that kind of, I don't want to use a disparaging word, but it was pretty awful. I mean, it was all rock bands, long hair, palm trees, girls in bikinis, kind of crap. And then they would do 2 hours called 120 Minutes, where they'd show the indie bands. And the indie bands were using filmmakers and more creative people or shooting stuff for themselves. Yeah. And that kind of slowly, that from 2 hours a day became hours a day, as people realized running MTV that there was this whole other kind of culture going on. You didn't have to have, you know, Van Halen and girls in miniskirts and Corvettes. You could have a whole new language, you know, and new records really, I think, help with that as well.
No, you know, and I think if I think of Corvettes and I think palm trees, I'm thinking Don Johnson, Miami Vice, and that was great, but that had its place and it had a style. But Depeche Mode were completely reaction to that. And you know, and I think this is why I said I think speaking to some of the older sort of fans on my group, the people are sort of in their 50s and stuff now. They did say that when they saw Shake the Disease the first time, they were like, wow, this is really brilliant. The song's amazing, and the video is brilliant. And it really was. And it's funny because Shake the Disease was really just a single that was put out to sort of promote the greatest hits 81 to 85. And so it was kind of in between albums. But as it turns out, it is one of the best songs they've ever done, with one of the best videos too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, you should be very proud of yourself, sir. Be very proud of yourself. So what are you up to at the moment? And if there are any people interested in having music videos made, how can they get hold of you or contact you?
I'm kind of semi-retired, in really.
He's made all his money, guys. You don't need to contact.
I'm okay. I'm sitting back. I'm ready to go back to shooting some of my own stuff at some point when COVID's over. And places that I can remember from the 90s and 90s here around Los Angeles, if those locations are still around, I think I want to go back to complete basics and just shoot on my own or with like a tiny crew, just stuff, and then see if it's worthy of being seen, and then approaching somebody I know to, if it's okay to put their music on there or to recut it to their music or something. And really my real, when I got into filmmaking per se, I was really into documentary filmmaking. And the last 4 or 5 years, having turned my back from music videos and commercials, my wife and I have been making little documentaries together for non-profits to help with certain political movements and so on. And all of that's been shut down now because of COVID. So our plan is to reorganize all of that. My wife Lorraine is really good at approaching people. She wanted to do a film about the homeless kids here in LA, and it's a legal issue that you're not supposed to film people below the age of 18. She's meeting people who are willing to waive all of that and kind of talk about their lives. And that wasn't going to be a film. It was going to be like like a blog, if you like a website with little films. That was really exciting prospect, and then it all shut down.
So you really are in a position now where you're not sort of actively seeking for work, and if a project comes your way, you've got the leisure, you've got the luxury of saying, okay, I can bring value to this, I'll do it, or you can turn things away. That's really Okay. Well, what I'll do is, Peter, at the end, I will get some links. Well, when we chat on email, I will just get some links from you, and we'll post those below. So, guys, check in the links below the video. Yeah, check out Peter. He's if you're part of our generation, he has filmed some of the most iconic music videos of our generation. And we're talking Tina Turner, REM, Bruce Springsteen, and many videos he himself has forgotten. Peter, it's been an absolute pleasure, and it's an honor to have you on the channel. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. We'll be in touch. As I say, I would love to do either on my channel or in collaboration with Depeche Mode Global, do a sort of a live chat. It's called a drink and a chat, so you have to have a drink, and every time. And then you as the special guest get to choose the word. So whatever the word is, if anyone says it, we have to have a drink. So I suppose if we use the word film, every time someone says film, but you get to choose the word as the special guest. But we'll set that up. It's usually done on a Saturday at about 1 p.m.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's we are at your, it's when you say you're comfortable to do it. We're happy to have you as a guest.
All right.
Listen, lots of love to Lorraine, and I hope to, because there is talk of me getting to California someday with a bit of crowdfunding. I'd love to have that beer with you, and
cool.
it'll be an absolute dream come true.
All right. Well, thank you. It's been very enjoyable. Thank you a lot, and bye to everyone.
Peter, we'll see you soon.
Yeah.
This broadcast will be coming out on Sunday, but I'll be in touch with you.
Okay. Yeah.
All the best.
All right. Bye then.
Yes, Peter. Bye-bye.